Welcome to the Noodle Podcast. We are Kate and Max, and we love noodling on what we've learned by accident. This podcast is a space where we share how we get the best out of ourselves and the people we've worked with. In today's episode, we talk about how to motivate and engage the people you work with, including the question to ask to find out what makes people want to do their best work. Plus, when good intentions for engaging people go bad, and the importance of individual, not blanket, recognition. Hello.
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 So, Kate, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about motivation and engagement. So how do you know when it's happening in your team? What are some tips? What are some traps? I think.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, first though, why is it important?
Well, we know that people do their best work when they care. And they care when they feel like people care about them. Service profit chain.
Yes. Oh, gosh. Ye oldie service profit chain. Ancient piece of great work done at Harvard. Yes, dig it up if you want to Google it. But that sense that instead of just focusing on what's the great client experience, customer experience or product, is actually rewinding back and saying, what's the great employee experience? If I'm feeling great in this team, I'll do great work. And if I do great work, we'll create a great client, customer, guest, patient, student experience.
Yes.
And that will lead to great outcomes. Whereas if you just focus on the bit where people pay or the bit where you measure the external environment,
yes,
you're not looking after
the people who are responsible for delivering that. Yeah. So often if you do get a poor client experience, whatever that might be, you can look and think, what's it like for people working here?
Absolutely.
They probably aren't being treated very well. And that's why they're not caring about my experience at the end. So that's why it's important.
Yeah, what goes on inside gets reflected outside, for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
How do you make sure that you are engaging, motivating your people?
I guess for me, the thing that is important, and I didn't realise soon enough, is that if you over-focus on the work rather than the people, then you're not motivating and engaging your people because you're seeing the task as more important than the human beings.
Yes. And there's a balance. If you're focusing so much on the people that you lose sight of the task, then you don't allow that kind of raising the bar and getting the team to perform really well and stretch and challenge in a good way and keep on doing better. So you can't just be all about the fluffy, make sure it's a comfy place to work. You kind of want to make sure people are pushed in the right way and together, though. So there has to be fairness in it as well.
We're also talking about that balance with striving for great performance or being a bit competitive without being so competitive that it's negative and it's undermining and defeating.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of stuff in team working is about the Goldilocks balance. That not too much, not too little, just that sort of magic position somewhere in the middle.
Which takes work, doesn't it? As you're saying that's actually there's skill in making sure, and it is never quite right. Because just when you think you've got it right, the dynamics will change in the team. Maybe you lose somebody new comes in, it shifts again. You've got to keep a constant eye on how is the team working? Even if it's just two people, how are they working together? Are they okay? If not, what do we need to do? And what you were doing last week might not be the thing that drives them in the same way this week. Because maybe, you keep on doing the same old things and it just doesn't gel people. We've had a lot of this over the pandemic where managers have had to think about, how do I make sure people are feeling like they're part of something, or that I care when I can't see them and I don't know necessarily, are they doing their best work? Are they doing too much? Are they doing too little? But really, it's just kind of good management practice that you should be doing anyway.
Yeah, and you need to... You're making me think about how many cakes, biscuits, goodness knows what. I mean, I'm a cake fan, right? So I'm never going to complain if somebody sends me a cake. But that sense of what does motivate people, what does engage people. And sometimes, yes, a cake arriving out of the blue, or on a hot day, she says, looking out the window, on a hot day, buying your team ice cream, or, if you're in the same place, obviously somewhat tricky through pandemic delivery.
Well, process. I know someone last week who got sent a donut In fact, the whole organisation, and there's thousands of them, got sent a donut for a town hall meeting. I think it was to have that shared experience.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all having a donut.
Yeah.
He doesn't like donuts though, so.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the balance, which is how do you find something that is something that everybody's going to enjoy or talk about or have fun over, whatever, that's a good shared experience and doesn't exclude people.
Yes.
Another challenge when you're working virtually, which is how do you include and not exclude?
Yeah.
Same thing when you create, let's all go for a drink or let's all go for a meal. But what about the person who can't come for whatever reason or maybe doesn't want to come? And then after that experience, they feel excluded. It's not intentional, but they just weren't there for the laughs and the fun. And how do you notice that? And it doesn't mean you shouldn't have fun.
I worked with an insurance company where the leaders could not work out what was going on. They were trying everything to get everyone engaged. But exactly what you just said happened. So they would have a beer Friday and they would invite everyone and they would pay for the beers at the pub on a Friday after work. What they weren't addressing was the fact that a lot of people didn't like each other in the team. There was no way they wanted to spend their free time with people that they didn't like in work, outside of work. A lot of them had young children. Quite a few of them were Muslim. They didn't drink anyway. And so that, again, created that sort of two-tier, the bunch that was saying, what's wrong with them? Cool, they're no fun. We're doing our very best to make everyone feel included. And others going, that's not how to do it. You're not taking time to ask me what makes me feel good about where I work and who I work with.
So you're talking about making sure that the team is gelling and getting on well, and it doesn't necessarily have to involve going outside of work, although that can help. So it's not the essential ingredient to socialise outside of work. It's a nice thing if you can socialise outside of a work context. It doesn't have to be outside work hours. It's
a recognised measure of motivation and engagement is how congenial do you feel with the people that you work with? To what degree do you like each other? How much do you want to collaborate and cooperate and help each other? Those are key indicators of whether a team is working. And you don't have to be in the same location for that to happen.
No.
So even, just being interested in each other, knowing what's going on in each other's lives. And I suppose, through the pandemic, we have done that a bit, haven't we? We've seen into people's homes and we've met their cats and dogs and babies on screen, and you get a little slice of life. I hope we don't lose that sense of who are you? Who are you when you're not just with me working?
Yes. And motivation, a part of motivation is recognition. So if I'm enjoying working in this team, but if I'm not being recognised by my manager, and you talked about a measure of success in a team is congeniality, and the other measure of a team's lack of success can be if a manager's not doing well, you're more likely to leave a team than stay. And that is a large factor in people leaving organisations, is they very often leave a manager and not an organisation. But how do you as a manager make sure that not just are you motivating, but you're recognising and thanking people for the work they do? I remember working for a guy who I swear must have read one of those sort of cheesy books on how to be a manager. And one of them was thank your staff. And every night as he walked out, he'd walk round and pat each of us on the shoulder. Thanks, great work today. Thanks, great work today. Thanks.
What if you hadn't done great work?
Well, exactly. No, you still got it. You got a pat every day. I mean, one, patronising, two, really inappropriate now if you think about it. And by the time you get to sort of you're several weeks or months into this, you just want to punch them. I mean, not that I'm suggesting violence is a good thing, but you just get that stage of don't, see everybody doing the shoulder dodge.
There is that, again, that's another sign of engagement. Are we being rewarded for the work we're actually doing? So are you distinguishing between who's doing well and who isn't? Because if I feel like I'm carrying everybody else, I'm putting in way much more work. I don't want them getting the recognition. I want to be recognised for what I'm doing. Recognition, reward. So
and fairness then. So what you're touching on there.
Yes.
Fairness.
Our David Rock's scarf drivers, one of our favourite models. Yeah,
absolutely. Motivating then as well, thinking about people's careers and people's ability to do things and delegating successfully. You are looking for the ability to build people's capability over time. Do you know what motivates them? What do they want out of their career or their working life, if career isn't the right word?
I spoke to someone last week, I was coaching her, who said she absolutely loves what she's doing. She loves her team, she loves her manager, she loves the work. And it's so refreshing to hear that, and also to know it's possible. She said she's got to a certain point in her career where she personally knows what she does and doesn't want. And so she can recognise this sweet spot that she's got. It doesn't mean she doesn't have some niggles or worries or things that she wants to do better at. But it was just so great to hear her say, I feel supported by my team. I feel supported by my manager. And I thought that's a huge part, knowing that you've got that crew, we've talked about that before, but the crew around you that you can call on when things are tough. That's a huge part of feeling motivated even when the chips are down.
One of my favourite questions to have in your pocket when you're asking people about what motivates them or engages, excites them, is the what's important to you question. What's important to you about working here? What's important to you about your working life? What's important to you about your career? Because those questions are like nice sort of higher level questions that really tap into people's values, and you get a really different answer to, do you want to do this task, or would you like to be good at?
Yes. Yeah. What's important to you? Why is that important?
Yeah.
That's good. That's big. Yeah. Having said it is about your crew and the team and so on, that's so greatly influenced by the style of that team leader or manager or whoever, whatever level you want to take it to. And research has showed something like 70% of the climate within which you operate is influenced by the person who leads or manages that team. So if you're a very directive leader, or you're a very, you have your coaching is the biggest part of you, or you're very great at visioning, all of those different leadership styles, you'll have something that comes out more than any other sort. And the trick is to know what situation you need to adapt your natural style and dial up or dial back, because it's going to have influence on how it feels to work there.
No, it will have a massive impact. And it's one of those interesting things where if you are responsible for other people, links back to what we talked about in our last podcast about integrity. How are you being the best version of yourself? How are you making sure that you are leading and managing in a way that you would want to be led?
Yes.
That's always an interesting question when we talk about delegation and we talk about control, is you might want to have more control over the people that you are delegating work to than you would want. And that's an interesting dilemma. You go, oh, okay, why is that then? Oh, so you want a bit more space, but you don't want to give that to your people. Interesting. Okay. And what would make you dial up and dial down on that delegation side of things? And that's really important.
Yeah.
But also that bigger picture thing of, and how are you affected by what's going on in the organisation by your manager?
Yeah.
How does that, and how much do you pass that on, or do you help to manage your team and protect your team and make sure they have the space to do what they need to do?
So sometimes it's about recognising if the CEO is behaving in a certain way that's not helpful to you on the management team, to what level do you create an umbrella so that the people below you can do their best work and they're not feeling your pain or whatever's going on up there. We've worked with some people who are not very good at creating an umbrella at all. No. It's like, I'm getting it from this end. I'm certainly passing that on.
Literally passing it on, yes.
Yeah.
And that's not a great place to be, is it?
No. Or a leader who doesn't shift as the organisation shifts. That's not helpful either. So I've worked with people who were in what had been a startup company, but it had got bigger and bigger and bigger. The CEO was still operating with an entrepreneur's mindset, which is, we're going to be different, we're going to be a bit edgy, and oh, you know what, we need to have book club on a Friday afternoon. And the team had got bigger and bigger and bigger. It was now global, and everyone was having to take time out for 2 hours every Friday afternoon to do book club. He just wasn't shifting on this, what had been a good idea about engaging people at first. It was about business books, so I suppose it was a way to develop people. But whoever had ended up having to read that book was finding they didn't have time to do it, so that was taking up their spare time, their weekends. Then they'd deliver something that nobody was listening to because they were so busy trying to get their actual work done. It just became working against them. It was, book club Friday, oh no. It's a great idea, but not recognising what needs to shift because the system has changed. So, yeah.
I mean, one of the things that's probably really helpful for that is to actually talk with the team about helps them, what makes things zing, what makes things hum for them.
Yes.
As much as if you're the person that's responsible for getting that team to be productive and successful.
Yeah.
Because it will reflect well on you.
Yes.
Here's an idea. Ask people.
And
Involve
listen.
them.
Make sure you've got that space to listen as well.
Yes.
So I think just to finish up on this, in terms of, do you know if your people are engaged and motivated? Do you trust that you've got a space where they can tell you that? There are some indicators. There are some key areas.
This is really good. I like
this. So having been an engagement manager
in your career,
yes, and my sister said, "Does that mean you're responsible for getting people married?" No, not that kind of engagement. Okay, so do people say good things about you, the team, and where they work? So say, stay. Are they staying, or have you got those signs that they're
high
off
turnover?
Sick? Yes, or high turnover.
Absenteeism or presenteeism. Present but not operating.
But no lights on. Yes. Say, stay, and strive. Do they go over and above when asked or not asked? Do they actually proactively look to put more in than the job?
The discretionary effort, as I like to call it.
Yes. So say, stay, strive are really good things to watch out for. And if you don't know, it's probably a good idea to find out.
Mm-hmm. So noodles that we would reference for this topic today: delegation dance.
Yes.
Capability. Yes.
Capability in teams.
Engagement staircase.
Absolutely. Yes. That's a great one.
Yeah. And as you say, stay, strive. Thank you, Kate. That was good. Enjoyed that chat.
Thank you very much for joining us today. We'd love to know what you think and any experiences that you have that you're happy to share. Please join us at noodle.space. Don't forget to subscribe, share and leave us a review. You can now follow us on Instagram at noodle_space. We'll see you next time.